1781 is late in the war. The British were no fools. They understood what it meant to fight in backcountry terrain. And so if you can hide, if you can move through woods, that would work to your advantage. And a 5 groups of soldiers firing in unison to send a sheet of lead toward the enemy. But now they are retreating. The Jaegers are pushing forward. I see to the right the von Bose soldiers also following up. Looks like a British officer is into their rear. Perhaps that's Colonel James Webster of the 33rd. And so as Captain Hurd's men encountered the advanced part of the British Army, they retreated. Sent word back to Lee. They rejoined Lee's forces. And that led to the British perhaps being overconfident, thinking they had the Americans on the run. Pursued them vigorously. The Americans fell back, and then in a narrow lane along New Garden Road, turned around and fired on Tarleton's men, catching them by surprise. This would not be an easy fight. We had mounted infantry. Again, we don't see those horses here this afternoon. We had Virginia riflemen, and he had Virginia Continentals under his command. Another volley. Von Bose regiment ready to return fire. Before the afternoon was over, the Von Bose regiment found itself nearly surrounded and almost annihilated by some of the riflemen, North Carolina and Virginia, until Cornwallis sent the first guards in to support and rescue them. And now we see the Americans are advancing on the British and returning fire. A smart firefight has developed. Notice the Hessians are lying low. There's no need to make too large a target. On battlefield. In fact, in the afternoon, riflemen saw the approach of those blue-coated Hessians, assumed they were Continentals, shouted "Liberty, liberty," and welcome, only to receive volley fire full in the face, not from Continentals, but from blue-coated Hessians.
So they could just really retreat like that?
White plumes are from the Guards, the Royal Welch, I think, with, it looks like, members of the 33rd. 33rd Regiment had been a young Cornwallis's first command before the war. They followed Cornwallis throughout his long, distinguished military career. We see American troops regathering now that they've encountered the British, and Lee will order them to move in force against British troops. Troops, American troops moving to the left, look like they may be riflemen. And here come the British. this point, the fighting has moved down New Garden Road closer to the Friends Meeting House at New Garden, and casualties have begun to pile up. I hope you take a good deep breath of that sulfur. That's a primary component in gunpowder. Imagine a still day with many times more men firing. Those smoke from the white powder, from the gunpowder hanging low in the limbs of the trees. Sounds of men and animals and agony echoing through the woods. Battlefield could be a confusing place. As Lee realizes that he is encountering a large element of the British Army, he will eventually begin a retreat. Riflemen on the flank will have a little bit of cover and can take careful aim and reload those weapons. Now the British have begun to push down as Lee pushes forward. Russians are falling back as well. All three men, the British Legion, wore green coats, and it looks like some of those green coats, along with the Royal Artillery, is coming into position. Cannon is called a 6-pounder because it fired a solid iron ball ready. That's what process. See, the artillerymen have wet the sponge. They will ram that down the barrel to make sure there is no previous spark from a previous fire. And then they will remove any debris and worm. All that in preparation of actually loading. In battles like this one, artillery was most effective. Either canister, cloth bag filled with iron balls, or grape shot. And you begin to see casualties fall on the field.
Smoky.
British response initially surprised Lee and his men. They fell back as the British were able to advance. As Lee realized that the British were at hand, remember his task was not to fight an all-out battle, but to engage the enemy if he could do so without loss of force. Make sure Green knew what was going on and to slow the British advance.